everyone, welcome to another episode of the Adam and Chris Show. I'm St. Adam.
And I'm Chris Malice.
And joining us today is Jordan.
Hi!
And since we're in time for Halloween, we figured it'd be the perfect time to talk about horror punk.
Right.
So Jordan, for the people who don't know out there, why don't you tell us what horror punk is?
Horror punk starts off with, let's go from the beginning.
Well, let's talk about what it is.
Okay, what it is from the beginning. Okay, so what it is, it's basically punk rock that talks about usually horror movies, sci-fi, B-movies, cult films, and generally stays within a horror vein.
All the good stuff.
Cool. What is one of the most influential bands in horror punk?
We are going there. Of course,
Fuck yeah.
Misfits is the most most known band of horror punk.
Oh, so what was the best era of the Misfits in your opinion?
Well, we have to talk about eras first.
Right.
Well, let's just talk about
Okay,
this
so if you
one
don't know who the
first.
Misfits are, which I imagine you're watching this video, you probably know who the Misfits are.
If you don't, hit yourself if you don't.
They're they're an influential punk band, hardcore band back in started in like 1980 something, really early 80s, late 70s. Glenn Danzig, Jerry Only, and a couple other random people who I don't remember their names were
Bobby Steele was one.
Yeah, started the band, and then messy breakup happened. Misfits goes on, goes through a couple Christ the Conqueror. Danzig goes on to start Samhain, and then he goes on to become Danzig. So then you have the eras, because then in around 97?
Yeah, 97 or so.
Yeah.
Came out. And then you have Misfits featuring Michael Graves.
On vocals.
On vocals. This is blasphemous, but the Michael Graves Misfits era is probably my favorite era of the Misfits. I'm not saying I don't like the Danzig era. I think it's incredible. I love all of Misfits, except for maybe the newer stuff or the Jerry Only Live. We're not going to talk about that. But, yeah, the Michael Graves era is definitely my favorite version of the Misfits, but that's also what got me into Misfits in general and also what introduced me to horror punk. What about you guys?
You know, I love classic Misfits. I really do, but I do think Graves' voice is better suited.
I can see your comment section right now. Like,
What are you saying?
You didn't praise Danzig!
Look,
What is wrong with you?
Trust me, like I said, classic Misfits is so good, but yeah, I think Graves' voice fits a little better.
I'm going to go the total opposite curve of you guys. I'm going to go with the Jerry Only era.
Wow.
No, I'm fucking with you. I'm going to go with the Michael Graves era. That's where I kind of got into listening to them with you and our old friend Alan. There's a cut of Dig Up Her Bones.
there you go.
He does a version of that song acoustically that sounds almost better than the original version, actually.
He wrote that one.
Yeah.
So, but
killer
Misfits
song.
still play it. It's interesting. But going before Misfits, obviously they're kind of like the catalyst for. They're like the band that goes back. Everyone traces back to horror punk. But like TSLL came out in 1981 with Dance With Me, which was actually a year before Misfits' first album of Walk Among Us. Now TSLL is not classified as a horror punk band, or more than just labeled as one of the original hardcore bands from the 80s. But their first album has a lot of dark imagery, dark themes on it. They talk about vampires and horror stuff. But then going before that...
Well, I was going to say that singer has kind of a Danzig sound
Right.
in his voice.
And then going before that, you have The Damned, starting in going into like the late 70s. Which, clearly talk about all kinds of crazy dark stuff as well. But then before all that, Damned is from the UK, so the Sex Pistols, and of course you have the Ramones. Which, talking about punk, you cannot talk about the Ramones. So horror punk really kind of picks up where the Ramones left off, which is taking a pop song, 50s bubblegum, Phil Spector pop song, and speeding it up and singing about bad B movies.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So
that sums it up pretty much.
that's a very long-winded history of kind of like where horror punk came, and then now it's like huge.
It's its own culture.
Right. So you have now you have bands like trying to think of all the bands.
There's a lot.
Newer bands.
We can go with newer bands.
Start it. Go for
Well, actually, like hitting the scene right now, we have the Jasons, which I introduced to him. They are super pop punk. Like really, really pop punk, but it's funny because all of them look like they belong in Venom, and they all wear like
Jason
they all wear
Voorhees masks.
Jason Voorhees masks. And
Nice.
how they sing with these masks on, I have no idea. I've watched them live; they're incredible. And then also like here in Columbus, there's a band called Mumula, and they do like surf punk, like horror surf punk, and it's hilarious because they dress as like mummies, but they also wear like Dracula capes.
That's fucking hilarious.
So
That's the great thing about horror punk is you can have a lot of fun with the imagery.
Yes, and that's like the biggest thing is because like with horror punk, it's like so there's like a lot of gothic like rock, doom
That
rock,
influenced it,
and
yeah.
and like there's a lot of stuff like even metal that talks about horror movies. We were talking about this earlier though. It's like
But they played a lot more straight.
right.
And a lot more vicious.
So like when a horror like when I like let's say like a death metal band talks about a horror movie, generally it's like the way it would come off is like Saw.
yeah.
You know, it's gonna even if they're talking about some comic-y like B movie like Troll 2, the way that they're gonna present it, it's gonna be more straight.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, like you say, death metal, and I think how many death metal songs are inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Right. And if you read the lyrics, they're really fucking funny because it's ridiculous how stupid they are. I mean, it's like I'm not trying to knock death metal, I like death metal, but I mean, it's like
Gruesome.
yeah.
It's like overly gruesome. It's gruesome for the sake of being gruesome.
But like you know, and then we're going direct back to like the horror punk thing. They're talking about the Blob, and it's they're going to point out all the more funny aspects of it, or even if they are selling it straight, it's going to come off lighthearted and goofy because that's kind of the nature of the beast.
Well, I turned into a Martian.
Right.
Comes up like right to my head from Classic Misfits.
Or even Brain Eaters.
Yeah.
Like Brain Eaters from like whatever album that was on. I can't remember my name, but yeah. You guys don't do any editing. This is like straight live.
No, we do editing.
Oh, you guys do editing?
Yeah.
Cool. They do editing.
So we're going to edit that part out or not?
Yeah.
That is up to you.
I'm kind of saying, fuck it, leave it in.
Then also like you have like the rockabilly bands.
Yes, that
So
are.
you have, like Necromantics, Horror Pops, Creep Show, Grave Stompers, which I've introduced you, which I don't even remember doing.
It's funny because, again, like I said, they're from Germany and they have that German accent. So when he tries to sing the style on that song, it sounds like Elmer Fudd. And I'm not even trying to make fun of him, but just listen to Munich After Midnight. When he sings the chorus, he sounds like Elmer Fudd.
It's good stuff.
It is.
So what do you guys like about horror punk?
It's very catchy.
Very catchy.
It has a great sense of melody.
It's fun.
Oh, very fun.
It's very, very lighthearted too.
And I think a lot of horror punk shows you go to, it's like a very... It's a cool crowd. It's not like, you get like... You think of like certain scene kids with certain sounds.
Scene
Like,
kids.
like the deathcore kids who you just want to kick upside the head. Or like maybe the power metal kids that are just like laid back and drunk.
Power metal has kids?
It does.
No, they don't.
No, they
no,
do.
they don't.
Hey, Mike will argue with you on that one.
Mike's not a fucking kid.
No, but he's been doing
He has a
power
kid.
metal shows.
There's no one at a power metal show under the age of 35, buddy.
To anyone in Europe watching this, send all your hate mail to what's your Twitter again? Exactly.
The real OJ.
He
Yeah,
does
I
have
got
a
one.
Twitter.
I'm amazing.
He
I
does.
got one. I haven't checked it in like 6
We have a
months.
phone now that's from the century. So
Yeah,
you can-
Well,
But no.
I control a lot.
Does it actually have a touchscreen or does it still have
Yeah,
buttons?
it's a touchsune.
Wow, I'm amazed.
It's an actual smartphone.
Wow, I'm
He doesn't have
blown away.
anything hooked up to it, like to run through it. But yeah, horror punk. It's an experience, and it creates a very fun experience. I
Right.
think. And again, songs catchy, melodic.
Fast.
I think after like what the Misfits set up, I think a lot of people have focused on that singing style too. Because like
Right.
if you look at like other punk bands, there was a very like harder edged vocal going along with that when you think of like Minor Threat or
Right.
stuff like that. But then you go to like anything horror punk and they're following what Glenn Danzig said.
Well, more so, if you look at like the newer age of a lot of the horror punk bands, they more sound like Michael Graves than Glenn Danzig. You have more of a higher end vocal instead of a lower end.
This actually goes back to what I wanted to bring up too. It's like Bauhaus, Bela Lugosi is dead. Bauhaus is a dark wave band, has nothing to do with punk really. Punkers love them, even though they're not a punk band. But that song is a very It
Better Than
does.
a
Like, it
Ghost
did
Is
influence
Dead.
a lot of bands.
Yep.
I mean, I never even heard of that song.
Oh,
She
you never
brought it
heard
up
that
earlier.
song?
Till he played it earlier. I had never heard of it.
Oh, if you were at Outland for what was it? Remember when we used to visit Outland every weekend?
Outlands was
That
a
song
BDSM goth club here in Columbus that is no longer
that we
around.
took his mom to.
Yes, we did. he didn't want to go, but his mom did.
No, remember we took you on your birthday and you got the shit kicked out of you by the dominatrixes?
Yeah.
That was Wes.
No, it happened to him
It happened to me too.
on his birthday.
Oh, okay.
They made him count along with him as they were smacking his ass with the paddle.
Sounds like War. Segway.
Segue.
We can talk about Gwar. Gwar is not necessarily a horror punk band. I don't know what I would even consider them because they're like all over the place.
They're just guar.
right.
Yeah.
But they also do sing about horror stuff too. But a lot of it is very sci-fi based and everything else.
They have a whole like backstory. They made like a continuity.
Yeah, well, their backstory is the hairspray of the '80s
Melted the ice.
melted the ice, and
That they were frozen in.
brought them forth. And God bless it, because a lot of those fucking cock rock bands suck.
So so Danzig and Misfits break apart. They break apart. Misfits go on to create Christ the Conqueror, a Christian metal band that didn't really see much of the light of day at all. Danzig goes on with some famous people from the hardcore scene in New York to start Samhain or Samhain, depending how you want to pronounce it. Samhain is the Gaelic pronunciation of it, which is much more darker and has more occult and paganism, witchcraft more based. Meanwhile, Christ Conqueror went to Christian metal, so both the band broke
But they
up.
did the original Dr. Five.
Yeah,
Which I thought, I'm like, this
Which
is...
was on a Misfits album.
Right.
So then they kind of veer off in their own directions. Samhain does one album, and then Danzig goes
Well,
off and
they
creates.
did a November Fire.
Oh, that's right.
But I'll tell you, I think there were actually three, because the third one had one of the worst tracks I've ever heard. Misery Tomb. I hate that track so much. It's not even a song. It's Danzig wailing over, like, keyboard tones.
Well, that's one of the reasons why they actually broke up. Was because Danzig was writing all the songs, and the guys were like, "You got us in this band for our talent, but you want to write everything." So the band broke up. Danzig goes off to start Danzig, a band that he has complete 100% all control over. So
Yeah, but I mean, like, I thought some of the Samhain guys went with them, like Eerie Von. Wasn't John Christ in the final incarnation of Samhain?
Oh, I don't remember. He's my favorite guitar player that recorded with Danzig.
Yeah, there's been many.
yeah.
And I'm pretty sure there's a reason why.
But that's a video for another time. So what are some of the other bands that, were metal but adopted some of that horror punk?
Well, I mean, because you had Doyle and Misfits, and he went to create Gorgeous Frankenstein, which is very like metal oriented, but they still have that.
It's like that balance between like the Graves Misfits and the Danzig stuff. Like it's like that. It walks that line. I've noticed because I had that first album, or I think the only album Gorgeous Frankenstein ever did, and yeah, some of it I'm like, this could easily be a Danzig track, like Hell Angel.
I think what it all comes down to is like everything. Like when it comes to more harder music, like punk, hardcore, metal, and all the variations and genres that all those cover. Most of those people are kind of people who live kind of on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and it also kind of coincides with horror fans.
Yeah.
Because horror fans also pretty much live on the outside of everything. But then you have the people who like all the different genres of horror. You have the people who like, the
Slasher
movies, the torture porn stuff, sci-fi.
The silent era.
Yeah, people like me who just love trash, People like, which favorite movie? Troll 2. Or The Room, that's not horror.
They're both equally as
the Room's great. I don't care what anyone says.
I think
It's the funniest
I think the
concept
same
I've
person
ever
wrote
seen.
the dialogue for both films.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who put like freaking like Dark Knight on the same scale as The Room of how enjoyable they both are. For two separate complete reasons, but So yeah, I love trash. So
But you bring up an interesting point about like horror, like these musicians and horror fans coinciding because you get a lot of like horror conventions now, and go to any one of them. How many Misfit shirts will you see?
you see tons. even bands like, well, they're no longer around, but Blitzkid, they broke up. But you see their shirts, Mr. Monster, whose singer passed away a couple years ago. And then you got, like, on the other scale of that, then there's, like, the super happy punky bands that are still considered horror punk, like Zombina and the Skeletons, who are really
I
goofy.
have heard them.
And, like, Groovy Ghoulies, who, you know, basically is a Saturday morning cartoon in music form. So, but they still sing about, like, horror stuff, and they did a great cover of Pet Sematary by Ramones.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
We were listening to that earlier.
I mean, you could even argue that song was like the Ramones starting to venture into horror punk a little.
Well, yeah, I mean, they covered that before, even, like, because basically the Ramones talked about, like, living on the street with Dee Dee, because he was selling himself, and then got them talking about mental illness, and then all the stuff they're into, rock and roll, B-movies, sci-fi, UFOs, you know, they cover all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of like Ramones is always, like, to me, is kind of like more the catalyst. Sex Pistols was the style and, like, the harder stuff. Ramones
some of the
was,
imagery,
like,
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramones was kind of like the, like just where punk was going to go.
So if there's anyone that wants to comment on that debate.
Yeah, like Ramones, Sex Pistols, I know I just opened up fucking
Ramones.
can of worms in that
we
one.
already have Danzig versus Michael Graves.
And now we have Sex Pistols and
And
Ramones.
people say we took the wrong side on that dispute, but I don't care.
What else can we do that can piss off your fans? Anything else I can bring up?
I don't know.
Should I mention Jokers? Should I even bring that up on this show? Probably not.
Well, we did 2 videos on the Joker movie.
Yeah. That's why I was like, should I bring up the Joker? Nah. Who's your favorite?
What, favorite Joker?
Yeah, Suicide Squad?
You know,
Look, I'm forgetting Heat, but not that level of Heat, okay? I won't get Jared Leto Joker Heat.
wow, that's like saying, you know, hey, you know, Juggalos are part of the horror punk community.
Woo! Whoa. Come on. Let's be serious. But hey, Juggalos are nice people.
Well,
I
you
just
know,
don't like ICP.
Hey, you know what? Actually, there's some ICP and Misfits fans who cross over.
yeah.
And then there's a lot of people who cross over into those two veins. So,
I remember they had the Gathering, and they've had a bunch of, like, they at one point had Cannibal Corpse, Converge on there.
Ric
Probably
Flair.
Yeah, that was bad.
well, that's because they're ICP wrestling thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was just bad for Rick and the audience, throwing shit, and Rick ain't going to put up with it. That's just how that rolled.
Well, you know, as you're talking about, you know, bands that kind of got into that horror punk scene and went metal, White Zombie and everything they did. Now, they weren't so much.
I would not consider them horror punk.
No, I wouldn't say. I could say there were influences, especially their earlier stuff.
White Zombie was heavily influenced by the Ramones, even to the point where even like their logo was the Ramones logo.
Yeah.
When the Ramones did their last tour, White Zombie opened for them.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
That's great.
when was
Yeah.
that? Because, I mean, White Zombie broke up in, like, what, 98, 99?
Ramones' last tour, I believe, was 95 or 96.
Okay.
And then, you know, Rob went on his own, and...
Created crappy music.
yeah.
You know, I made a comment. Now, this might get us some hate. I made the comment, there was a... Rob Zombie's old guitar player made his own band in that vein called Scum of the Earth. And I'm like, wow, he just made the best Rob Zombie albums. Because, you know, I mean, it's not a very high bar to set, but at least his lyrics aren't word salad.
Yeah.
But, you know, you talk about Gorgeous Frankenstein. Doyle, that broke up, and then Doyle just did a solo thing called Doyle. And the first album, I think he's done too. The first one's called Abominator. I actually liked it a lot. Although the vocalist had like kind of a Phil Anselmo thing going on, which I wasn't sure if
I was
it
not a
fit.
fan of the guy who sang, but I mean, as far as like the tone and the music, it's Doyle.
Yeah.
So if you like a wall of guitars and you like how Doyle's guitar sounds and you like his playing style and you like the way he writes music, might be something you want to check out.
All right.
The vocals is not necessarily my cup of tea, but it might be someone else's.
Well, yeah, it's more of a metal album. I think that's what Doyle was going for. Not so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
like horror punk, but like kind of that horror punk merged with metal.
Right. And again, it's going to that genre of music where, you know, they're talking about horror-esque things, but not necessarily being punk rock.
Right. Do you guys have a song that you recommend to the audience for Halloween with horror punk?
Ooh,
I'm going to say Dig Up Her Bones.
that's a
Just
good
dig up her
one.
bones?
Yeah, think about that. You go ahead.
Well, since Misfits is my favorite punk band anyway, I'm just going to say Halloween by the Misfits.
Ooh,
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Similar Paramedics by Mr. Monster.
There you go.
Quick, if anyone doesn't know, where did they get the name for that song?
Oh, it's from Return of the Living Dead.
With talking zombies.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen that, watch that for the Halloween season 2.
Or just if you love, since like the 80s retro is now popular, like Return of the Living Dead is a very much 80s throwback. It feels like the 80s. Love it.
Absolutely.
There you go. Okay, so every episode we like to recommend something worth checking out. Chris, what is your something worth checking out?
Well, we're talking about punk, and I'm just going to recommend my favorite punk band because we were talking about them, and they're not a horror punk band. Black Flag.
Jordan, do you have anything you want to recommend?
Troll 2 or The Room. Tommy Wiseau is a freaking genius. And if you don't say so, I'll fight you on it.
There you go. My wife may have to fight you because I think she's afraid of Tommy Wiseau. I'm just going to recommend the Misfits, be it Danzig era, Michael Graves era, Jerry Only era, because there were a couple songs off that last album that I find myself still listening to. Just everything Misfits. Check it out.
All right.
Anything either one of you want to add?
Nah, man, that's it.
It's a
All
pleasure
right.
being on the show. Thanks for having me.
Well,
Oh,
thanks for
Thanks
being on
coming,
it.
man.
Thanks for being on it. And here we are from the Adam and Chris Show. I'm St. Adam.
I'm Chris Malice.
Jordan.
And this is Jordan.
And if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe this video. You have to click the little bell because apparently that's how YouTube likes to work now. And follow us on all the social media accounts listed in the credits.
The real OJ.
There you go, the real OJ. All right, everyone. See you later.
All right.